CWL Anaheim Open. On hand is myself, Lando, alongside Fox as we get ready to enter into our winners bracket round 1 matches. Fox, for our first one, we've got Epsilon taking on the boys on eUnited. It should be a good one to set things up.
Winners bracket round 1. This is where all that group play comes into play here, determining their seeding, and we end up with one of the stronger European rosters facing off what should still be a Tier 1 North American team, but they're playing with a substitute this tournament, as I'm sure you've seen throughout the early stages of it.
Yeah, of course, that new addition is Swarley. Swarley has kind of come into this roster, of course, definitely a little bit of a difficult task to try and make up for what Gunless did provide for this roster in the past. But what we're going to do really quickly is take a quick look at the bracket as we get ready to load in here for map number 1, just to get a little bit of an idea as to what to expect throughout the rest of the matches for the Knights. As you can see, obviously at the top, Enigma 6 taking on Evil Geniuses, OG taking on LG at the top of the bracket. And then obviously on the other side, we've got Bittersweet taking on Splice. And of course, our matchup, Epsilon taking on eUnited. So the winner of this faces off against the winner of Bittersweet and Splice, which I believe that matchup is going on Alpha right now.
Yes, and after that, you could, as you saw at the top of the screen, you'll see Enigma 6 and Evil Geniuses on this stream. But back on focus here, we have eUnited facing off against Epsilon. Some of the key players in this lobby have been forces for the roster over the past couple of months. 2 players that come to mind instantly: Arcides from eUnited, the second one, Hockey from Epsilon. Such huge threats. I've seen Hockey actually put up great numbers with the NV4 throughout this weekend.
Yeah, I think also another kind of highlight player that we can mention from that side of Epsilon has definitely been Dave as well. To kind of credit him. I mean, he has been going off for the squad, but when you start to see the main guys from Epsilon do work, that's when they start to see success. Question being, can they continue that success throughout the winners bracket? It's time to find out as we load in here toward map number 1. It is hardpoint on some Throwback.
Yes, I highlighted Hockey, but you cannot ignore Davey and his MVP-like performances that he's had since CWL Birmingham, opening it up with a double kill, essentially. He was able to help Vortex for that first kill and then find the second on the unsuspecting player on Bike Path. And he's still staying alive, continuing this map pressure towards Lemon before he's finally shut down by Pristini.
DDS, nice start there coming in from Dave, trying to get things going quick as Swarley and Pristini combine for a few near that train platform. Swarley, the main objective player, of course, now recently coming in onto this eUnited roster. Expecting to see him getting a lot of time in the hill, while both of his teammates, along with Silly as well, get that slaying done around the map.
Hockey, Vortex, 2 big kills for the team. Let's see how they pinch onto this point. They got to take down Swarley, but Swarley and Silly stay alive in that engagement, nearly unscathed. Both players able to maintain lots of hill time here, and they should get the remainder of the scrap time as Epsilon should be coming from blue towards Barn if they want any hope of breaking this.
And a big kill there coming in from Pristini as he finds actually 2 in this engagement, tries to find the third. That's going to guarantee his team some spawns, at least for now. Shutting down Dave in that NV4 gunfight was big to get them the points right now sitting inside of Barn. When it comes down to Throwback, we kind of consider Barn to be in Money Hill on this map. And obviously, it seems that eUnited is showing why. Swarley, nice combination of kills there. We talked about him being the objective man, but he's getting the slang done right now, Fox, currently on a 5 spree.
The team wipe comes in, and we have Swarley well on his way to score streaks. That was a big, big wave of engagements right there that went in favor of eUnited. That should give them enough momentum to set Swarley up for success here, but he loses the gunfight. Arcides is still there to stay alive, though, with that double kill. So now he's the man with the hot hand, finding a third in a row. He's still alive. That's 4. Arcides finally taken down after evening up his KD in the last 20 seconds.
As Barn does conclude, that's going to be eUnited with a pretty decently sized lead, around 70 to 7 points. As the boys from eUnited have definitely kind of taken over this game and have not looked back. The guys from Epsilon need to get some time desperately as they look to try to make their way here toward that middle plat side. 2 kills go in their favor as Dave enters inside of the hill, but only for a short time. He quickly drops and now Sport Josh is now left to try and make something happen. He also falls. Now Vortex is in the back, and the rush from eUnited is starting to come forward. Epsilon not having a whole lot of responses at the moment. The slaying coming in from eUnited has just been too great, and with guys like Silly and Pristini leading the way, Swarley as well, it's just not going to be easy when you see guys going like this on streaks.
Landon, we are on the 3rd hard point, and Epsilon has yet to contribute and produce a substantial amount of time on the hill. eUnited seems to just be outslaying them pretty heavily here. Dave, trying to be the difference maker with a massive triple kill right there. And you just got to see his team capitalize on it and find that scrap time. But Arcides and Swarley are still threats on the top of this hill behind the bus as they are able to take those players right off of the objective.
eUnited just looks focused at the moment. I don't know about you, Fox, but it just seems that every time we get ready to a rotation, eUnited is there after grabbing quite a bit of points when it came down to bike path. And now Swarley is delaying even more. This push from Epsilon is going to have to be delayed for the most part, as Hockey finds two. Regardless of that, they've already given away at least a few seconds inside a baseball field. They're going to have to make this push happen, and Persini is ready and waiting. A very high aggressive player showing exactly why that is. Currently +6 as he's going to let his teammates finish off those last few kills. A nice job here from eUnited as they're getting ready to cross the 100-point mark.
I was just about to comment with how Epsilon had eUnited spawning out towards blue, that gave a clear path for Dave to push towards back bowling and take control of it. What we saw, Persini was able to jump right over there, and he's still doing damage. 3 kills in a row, double positive, sitting and milking that hill time. Epsilon's really not in a good position. This is a 90-second deficit.
Is this Epsilon doing something wrong or eUnited doing something right, you think?
This is eUnited doing something right. They're just gunning down Epsilon with very little rebuttal. We're really only seeing Dave contributing anything meaningful when it comes to these team-based engagements. As you can see, he's actually the only one that surpassed 10 kills. A lot of eUnited's players are around halfway towards 20. So that was a really roundabout way of saying 15. But eUnited is just pouring it onto them right now.
They absolutely are. Like you said, you talked about after the first set of rotations, 7-16 for Josh, 9-13 for Hockey, and 6-14 for Vortex. Like you mentioned, Dave, really the only guy who's kind of getting a lot in those engagements, and is still -3 at the moment. We'll see how they can obviously try and rebound, because they're desperately going to need to do so before this match gets even more out of hand. Silly finds a big kill to the right over on Josh. And Dave is still trying to make somewhat of an impact, doing a great job, at least for the time being. Needs some of his teammates to try and step up, as Vortex is going to answer the call for the time, pulling up the ERAD, as it looks like they're finally going to get at least a few points when it comes in and train platform. But we'll see how that rotation comes in as we get ready to rotate toward Barn.
Dave was in a great position to keep the pressure off of his team, but he lost the gunfight to Arcades, and the rest of his team died just as he did as well. So this scrap time is going to go to eUnited. And Epsilon, unfortunately for them, find themselves spawning towards baseball field, while eUnited is at mid and rotating over to Barn. They still get lots of kills in their favor, so that's a good sign for Epsilon, and they're rewarded with some hill time. Let's see how eUnited respond.
Yeah, Vortex, the last person alive inside of the hill, isn't able to stay alive for much longer. That pressure coming in from silos, that team fight going in favor of eUnited yet again. They're up by over 100 seconds at the moment. Player number 7 toward the back, Hockey,
Silly
trying to make somewhat of an impact, but it looks like the reactive armor gets used from Silly. Persini drops from the back, and it looks like the side of Epsilon might get at least a few seconds here, but player number 1, Arcades, is still lingering in the back, and unfortunately for him, he will drop in that gunfight. So too little too late for the boys from eUnited, but it looks like they're going to try to push this one yet again. They are not happy with giving away any time. They want to at least maintain a 100-second lead, and Silly trying to do something as 3 do fall. Arcede's not going to be in a position to at least challenge for quite a few more seconds. So with that, the rotation will come in, but eUnited still in prime control.
So keep in mind with this big kill differential between Epsilon and eUnited, ignoring the score differential that we're seeing, which by the way is pretty massive at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty massive.
Silly did pop that reactive armor and still died to Josh. So that's just little by little they can maybe kind of break down these advantages that eUnited built for themselves and come back. But as we're getting into the second, or halfway through the second rotation of hills, it's looking very grim if you're an Epsilon fan. This map 1 is very heavily in favor of eUnited.
It definitely is. One positive you can take is that they do have good spawns, at least for the next hard point, but there's still quite a bit of time left inside a bike path. We'll see how they try to initiate some of these gunfights to go down. Hockey ends up dropping. Vortex is just to the side. Thankfully, he's able to stay alive for the time, uses the FTL jump to keep himself up for at least a few more seconds, but Persini is there to challenge and might go on a little bit more of a spree. Currently just on 1 for the moment, but we'll see if he can continue that on. But side of eUnited is just absolutely on fire right now. You look at Silly, 24-11, 24-16 for Pristini as well. Normally we'd be calling Arcades, the guy to be watching out for, but that just goes to show how deep this kind of player pool goes for the side of eUnited. When it comes down to it, you've got Silly, you've got Pristini, who could definitely go off when you need them to. It looks like the side of eUnited getting closer to that 200-point mark, and Epsilon just now passing the 81.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of depth to this eUnited roster. I do want to highlight Arcades, though. Even though he's not contributing, he has a great supporting cast around him. On the opposite side, I said players to look out for, and you agreed as well. Hockey, Dave. But no one's really standing out at this point, even though Dave, for the beginning stages and the middle stages, were contributing a lot. So it just seems like 3 of the 4 United players are completely destroying anyone in front of them, and Epsilon just can't do anything to respond. The trades aren't going in their favor.
I know we talked about, Archie's a little bit as well and kind of giving highlights to Silly and Persini. We also got to give some love to Swirly as well. Minute and 50 inside of the hill. Of course, most time in the entire match. Also +4, at least for the moment. I know on day one he had a pretty slow start to run at 0.7 KD, and I'm not sure exactly what his stats are for at least right now. But in matches that I've been able to cast over him for at least day number 2, he has had a fantastic job at giving eUnited some pretty big advantages, and especially right now in this one versus Epsilon. And this is the one really where it matters the most up to this point. So with that, a stream platform does load up yet again, 223 to 89. If you're an EU fan, if you're an Epsilon fan as well, and I mean, this is not going to be easy to make this comeback. Like I said, crazier things have happened in the past, but it's just something that's not likely, and most likely that's not going to happen.
These are two teams that split series in the Global Pro League, right? And there were even instances where I think that Epsilon 100. Yes, I definitely know that Epsilon was able to 100-point club the original eUnited roster. Here with their fill-in of Swarley, eUnited has been taking this game from the start, and they're looking like they're less than 30 seconds away from closing out this game. The advantage is heavily in their favor.
Yeah, just kind of time ticking down at the moment. Some potential final gunfights happening as well as the rotation will get ready to come in here toward Barn. Player number 2, Swarley, placing down that Centurion inside of Barn just to kind of act as a permanent jammer grenade, and Josh going to get affected by that one. Swarley cleaning him up just after that ends up going through. Last few kills coming in as Dave actually ends up rocking his payload for the time being, but the Centurion being an absolute nuisance. Archie's rocks the active camo. He will fall. Swarley not going to be in a position to trade at least for a few seconds, waiting for his teammates to try and get this one forward. They realize they've got the game in their control at this point, Fox.
Swarley realizes there are 4 Epsilon players just around the corner, so he can't dive straight into the hill without his team's support. He instead looks for the back engagement, loses it, so now it's up to the eUnited players on the inside of the hill. Josh has something to say about it, finding 4 kills in a row here, staying alive for Epsilon. With 30 seconds left, they're getting a lot of time on this money hill, and that first engagement in the next team fight is big for them because they're working at an advantage of manpower and map control.
We'll see if eUnited can try and break through. Persini is here, finds one, tries to find the second as well. That one will be granted to him, but only for the time. Josh has to rock the reactive armor just to make sure the game can last at least a few more seconds longer, as eUnited still only need a few more seconds. Last player does challenge and is granted at least 2 seconds out of that one. Persini holding over toward Lemon. He'll drop, and now it's only 9 more seconds needed before this map number 1 is in the books.
eUnited here just kind of flooding the hardpoint over and over again, trying to close this out as quickly as possible. I think that's why they're getting so sloppy and letting Epsilon get so much time here in the end. Dave taking advantage of that, though, just gunning them as they dive in alongside Josh. Vortex, though, is acting as the front line. He's the man on your screen with 3 kills in a row, keeping up the pressure with that ERAD. He spotted that player coming through underpass. He's going to communicate that to the rest of his team. So let's see how Epsilon works with the map control that they had. The team kill's not going to help anything, especially when the rest of the kills are going in favor of eUnited, Landon.
Indeed, looks at the final few seconds they're about to take down. Can Epsilon even have a chance to get in here is the question. Josh gets dropped. Vortex is still trying to contest as much time as possible, but it's just not looking likely anymore. And just like that, that's going to do it for map number 1. That's going to be eUnited taking this one 250 to 157.
eUnited had that game in the bag from the get-go. Epsilon could not contribute anything in this match up until, what, the 3rd or 4th hail of the first rotation. You cannot let that happen in Throwback Hardpoint. They started to come to life towards the end there, as you saw, but I think that was more just sloppiness of eUnited because they saw they pretty much had this map over with.
Yeah, it was just kind of like patience at the end, I think, from eUnited as well. It's like, we only really need about maybe 10, 20 more seconds before we kind of close this game out. I mean, there was a few moments where Swarley or Prestini could have engaged, but he kind of waited for his teammates and whatnot. So in some cases, I think it was guys on Epsilon just getting some good timing and finally getting some confidence in themselves. But in the end, it was just eUnited kind of just waiting and kind of patiently waiting for a potential team fight that could go in their favor.
So let's look at Retaliation, Search and Destroy for our next map here. This is where we could possibly see some sniping out of the side of eUnited. We've seen some sniping from Epsilon's Hockey as well. So we'll have to see what those two players can contribute and see if there's any sort of a battle in terms of their opening engagements against one another. Now, getting into the Search and Destroy here, I want to highlight that first map is a bit of an outlier. I feel that we could have a much closer and more intense series as this progresses here because these are two very capable rosters. I'm not looking at too weakened of an eUnited, and I'm not looking at an underdog from Europe because it's not what Epsilon is, right? These are teams that have been able to go toe-to-toe with one another in the Pro League itself. So I feel that Epsilon definitely has the leg up in the fact that they're here with their original roster.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that obviously plays a huge factor when it comes down to chemistry. We talk about Search and Destroy. communication, very, very big factor when it comes down to this particular game mode. And I got to hand it to you. I think that's definitely going to be in some cases, a little bit of an outlier. That's definitely going to go to Epsilon, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So getting into the search and destroy, some players you should look out for. I expect Dave to really just step it right up here and throughout this series. Hockey is someone that I look for as well. These are two players that can contribute meaningfully in search and destroy. That's a sniper you want to keep your eyes on as well. On the side of eUnited, Landon, who are you looking for to contribute here?
I was actually going to mention that. I'm definitely going to be looking out for Archie's. I think he's going to be doing a great job with the NV4 at range as well as the sniper rifle play. I've also been pretty impressed with Silly's performances when it comes into search and destroy. I feel like he's kind of been, in some cases, a guy that's kind of doubted at times, but even in past events, even at Dallas, to just kind of bring up one. I mean, there's been a few days where Silly has kind of completely carried this roster when it comes into search and destroy, but also the respawns as well. But really quickly, we're going to take a quick look at our kind of final scorecard here from map number 1 on the hardpoint. Just give an idea as to how the stats kind of lined up for that map. Of course, as we can kind of see the stats as far as each hard point went. And Fox, anything that you see here off the start that kind of sticks out to you?
Well, Swarley here is one of our players to highlight because of the hill time that he got, and I think a lot of that was off the back of Prestini, who was slaying all around the map. So many different hills is where he was contributing in a meaningful way to eUnited. On the side of Epsilon, we of course have Dave. He was sitting just outside of the hill constantly with his NV4, finding big kills for the team, but it just didn't seem like it was followed up on unless Josh was there. So, you know, in the end, it's going to end up in an eUnited win just because of how big all of the players on eUnited were going at some point in time. Epsilon just wasn't shooting back.
Yeah, and of course, as we kind of take a look at the hill differentials at some points, you obviously see Train being a pretty big outlier, 52-29, obviously in favor of the side of eUnited, and also Baseball Field as well, 72-20. I noticed over time, and especially as of recently, Baseball Field has kind of acted as a second kind of money hill for a lot of these teams. In some cases, if you don't get a whole lot of time in Barn, that rotation to Baseball Field can definitely grant you a lot of seconds. I think along with Baseball Field as well, we see quite a few payloads rock on that one too. But of course, as we get ready to load in here toward some Retaliation, search and destroy, we have to wipe away that map number 1 victory. I'm sure that's exactly what Epsilon is trying to do right now. And actually, as we get ready to load in here, I already see a nice little longbow in Archie's hands. I'm getting pretty excited, Fox.
It's very possible that this series goes the distance. I don't expect this to be the only search and destroy we see. Two very capable teams are going head-to-head right now. And if you're an eUnited fan, you got to be behind these guys. They're playing with a substitute. RCDs is having a great tournament, and he's definitely contributing and trying to step into the shoes that Gunless left behind. He loses the sniper battle, the sniper engagement that he was looking for in the beginning here, as Vortex is able to take him down, but the trade comes through instantly afterwards.
3 versus 3, now make it a 3v2 in favor of the side of eUnited. Rushing coming in from Swarley Hill, end up dropping it just like that. Hockey finding 2 kills, and just like that, that's going to be the round. A little bit of an awkward site hit. Of course, not going to see the A bomb site hit quite often, but eUnited going for a little bit of an off strategy, and unfortunately for them, it does not work out as Epsilon capture round number 1 and Dave in the final kill cam.
I mentioned just how dangerous that man Hockey is with the MV4 right there. It looked like they were starting to lose some map pressure on the bridge. He pops right out and takes down 2 players. Excellent, excellent shots from him right there, and that's going to give Epsilon the round lead early on in the search and destroy. Now, it's their turn on offense, and Dave has the bomb.
Indeed, be looking out when it comes down to these B hits to potentially be looking toward plat, but that's not actually what Epsilon is running to do. They're actually going to be rotating here over toward A, so taking a page out of eUnited's book in round number 1.
They actually do favor this site quite a bit on this map when they play Search and Destroy. It's going to work out a little bit for them here as they're in their comfort zone. They got the site that they wanted. They have yet to lose someone. Prestini catches Josh in the ankles, finds another wall run double kill. Excellent shots from Prestini right there.
Vortex from behind, actually coming in from hallways, trying to stay alive for as much as possible. Hockey falls, and now, his teammate falls, Vortex, and now Hockey's left all by himself, and he can't make anything happen either. So, despite that, back-to-back offensive A hits, and the defensive team winning out both times.
There it is. eUnited, they're going to give this to RCDs. He seems to be the player closest to his score streak. As you can see, Prestini did die after his double kill. He would have been the most likely candidate had he survived. Instead, they're trying to work RCDs towards the Scarab. Now we're all tied up with both teams succeeding on the defensive side.
Indeed, so as we load in here toward round number 3, it will be the eUnited squad going to be on the offensive, and it looks like we're going to see some pretty standard gameplay when it comes in a search and destroy. Just going to find that first blood and potentially making that B site hit. Archie's getting pretty up and aggressive, but actually Prestini, his brother, going to find that one off the start, quickly traded there from Vortex. So 3 versus 3 early on, and Swarley making his way with that bomb over here toward Cat.
Swarley here moving over for the bomb plant. He's caught from a great angle that Hockey has here. He plays just like that in a lot of their search and destroy maps. These far away and high elevation sort of spots of the NV4 is where he's most comfortable. And of course, you can see it right there. He knew exactly what was going on and responded accordingly.
Boys from Epsilon resigning here over toward Plat, just trying to stick together. It is currently a 2 versus 2. Silly. Going to go on this wall run here over toward A, just trying to get live in the line sight, but players just going to be to his left. He's actually going to spot at least both of them. Vortex will pick him off, and now it's going to be left up to Arcees in a clutching position. 1 versus 2. No bomb in hand, has to get that one pretty quick, and based on where the Epsilon players were, I thought they actually knew where the bomb is, but it looks like they are going to stick together and maybe try to re-engage this one as a unit. As we'll see how they try to maybe try to retake this one, but bomb not going down yet, and Arcees is actually holding an off angle. This is a nice angle to hold, but both these players could engage. This could be a 1 versus 2 for Arcees. Finds one, and now that player actually is going to escape. So very smart play from Vortex just to get out of there as quick as possible, as that's going to grant his team the round victory.
Arcees definitely could have had that, but he whiffed a couple of shots there on the first engagement and allowed the second player to get away. Rough situation there, but Epsilon plays it well. I was just going to compliment Epsilon. Typically in those situations, they're very good at bait and switching and never giving up that man advantage toward the later end of the rounds. If you watch their S&D, you can definitely see that tendency right there. The escaping player doesn't even have to bother with it. And it looks like we're going to see a little bit of competition here over towards the B bomb site as Dave is trying to work his way through the bike shop. 2 kills opened up between Hockey and Dave right there. That's big. They blow that site wide open with that man advantage.
Arcees now left in another position to clutch. This time 2 more players added that, make that -1, tries to make it -2 as Hockey nearly gets his head taken clean off. It's not a smart idea to try to challenge Arcees in these very tight head glitching areas, but Arcees still positioned to clutch. 175 points off of that next streak. We'll obviously see what he wins to try and do here. Does have a scare, not the best idea to most likely try to use it.
You think he checks this corner? Does he check this corner, Landon? Does he do it?
No.
Nope. There's the end of his score streak run right there. Arcees taken down. And Epsilon's able to put a point on the board.
And to answer your question, I know we were kind of in the middle of a gunfight there. I really wasn't thinking, I mean, in some cases, when you're in a 1 versus 3, there's about 20 seconds left. I don't really think he had a whole lot of time to kind of check that. I mean, it's a nice idea. I mean, it's a good idea in theory to kind of check every angle where players are usually at, but just in a situation where time started to tick down, he only had about maybe 11 seconds to work with to actually get the defuse off.
His options were limited.
His options were limited.
So, we have eUnited trying to push towards B site here again. A very popular site for lots of North American rosters on this map in Search and Destroy. We have Josh and Dave setting up a crossfire here, holding pretty passively in the hotel. I think that they might be expecting some kind of an eUnited push through mid here, but that is not the case. As you can see, most of the players, except for Prestini, who finds the first blood, are all towards bike paths. That should be a bike plant or a bomb plant. Hockey not in his usual position to jump up and take out the bomb plant. I guess he assumed that they would have caught on to it by now and stopped him.
Indeed, Arcees is going to pull up that scarab just to gain some information. Spots Josh actually over near Plat. Pull that one out to his teammates most likely, but player number 5 and player number 7, both Dave and Hockey quickly getting in some of the gunfight. They obviously see where that scarab player is at, and now Arcees yet again left in a position to clutch. Before I can even utter the words, Epsilon will shut him down pretty darn quick, because that's going to be a defuse there for Dave, as it's now going to be Epsilon up 4 rounds to 1. And it looks like streaks getting very closely earned there from Dave. Already has the scarab.
And Hockey and Dave continue to put on a show this weekend. Both of these players having the least amount of deaths on their team in this Search and Destroy, winning some pretty crucial engagements. I'm really looking forward to see what they can contribute through the rest of this series. Like I said, this is going to be a close one. I don't think either team has a huge advantage over the other, aside from Epsilon having their original roster. That's, of course, something you got to consider, but United, with their 4 players, are still very capable of taking down some of these top teams.
The Twins doing their part, but Swarley and Silly continuing to have struggles. Now it's going to be left up to Silly yet again. Immediate 1 versus 4. This is not going to be an easy one, and not one that he's probably going to win either. He's just going to fire some excess shots. The opposite team is going to know exactly where he is, and Josh is going to shut him down from bar. 5 rounds to 1. I was curious to see if it comes down to the Search and Destroy, but Epsilon kind of carried that load of that loss actually from that hard point. And ever since that round number 1 victory that they had, they have continued to absolutely destroy the side of eUnited. And like I said, you do talk about the slow performers. 1-5 for Swarley, 2-5 for Silly as well. Of course, you can kind of point out Swarley being the main objective guy, but didn't really seem to affect him too much when it came down to the hard point. Two guys who just kind of not had an opportunity to really go off as of yet.
Hockey, again, playing these long-range engagements, just looking over his team as they push through bridge. Now that they're safe, he's going to avert his attention over towards the B site. And he's going to be there just in time to give his teammates the call that eUnited wants to play this site offensively. Vortex also has a great crossfire set up with him. The question is he going to find a kill out of it with him being so heavily outnumbered? Josh, excellent flank right there, executed onto Prestini and Swarley. Beautifully set up play by Epsilon right there. For anyone that doubts the strategy put into Call of Duty Esports and Search and Destroy, Epsilon showcased it very well right there.
Hockey's going to have a nice quick little sprint there with the overdrive over toward the bomb, as they are going to most likely let eUnited know. Took a quick pause just to let everyone know exactly what just took place. That's going to be Epsilon taking away map number 2 in dominant fashion in the Search and Destroy as they win this one 6-1.
Great setup right there. Great patience out of the players that were sort of buying time for the remainder of the roster that I want to say was Josh and Dave to come all the way around from bridge, and they're able to close it out right there. Even if they lost that round, I think we can all agree that the odds are very heavily in favor of Epsilon because of that payload progression they had built up. While eUnited had 2 players with just, 1 or 2 kills up until that point, Epsilon had at least 3 of their 4 players getting kills every round.
Yeah, it seems like pretty consistent play overall from the guys on Epsilon, like we said. But you talk about that previous chemistry, kind of having that full roster moving forward. And also you got to talk about with the eUnited as well. Having a new addition when it comes to Search and Destroy isn't always the easiest. Swarley kind of becoming that main objective guy. While he is kind of filling Gunless's role when it comes into Search and Destroy, it's just very difficult when you don't have that consistent Slayer behind you at all times.
Oh, for sure. And looking in the Search and Destroy, we just saw that Epsilon seemed to be outplaying eUnited quite a bit. I mean, there were a few moments where you saw that eUnited had a chance, like when Prestini would open up with First Bloods, but between Hockey's positioning, providing his team with great information, and just Josh finding some great pinches and flanks that just all added up to a victory for Epsilon. So, guys, that's going to be the end of that map number 2. We're going to continue on with this series. It's tied up 1-1 after this commercial break, so make sure you stay tuned here, and we'll be back in a moment.
Welcome back, everyone, to the CWL Anaheim Open presented by the PlayStation 4. Myself, Lando, as well as Fox, guiding you guys through the action in the midst of a fantastic series currently going on between Epsilon and eUnited. We're getting ready to head into some Frost uplink. But before we do that, let's talk about some of the key players to be looking out for in this series. Fox, there's been two kind of guys so far throughout the entire weekend, as well as so far in this series, who have made a difference. I think it's only good that we give them the credit they deserve.
Oh, yeah. We'd be doing a disservice not to mention what these players have contributed this weekend to the team. We have Hockey of Epsilon, and we have Arcides of eUnited. As you can see by their KDs, they contribute quite a ton. 1.22 uplink KD is the highest one on screen here, and that's coming from Hockey. And the rest of his stats aren't too far off. As you can see, S&D and hardpoint, 1.19, and they're all higher than Arcides. But still, we can't deny what an NV4 player like Arcides brings to his team. With a devastating shot from mid-range to long-range, Arcides is such a threat.
Oh, absolutely. Arcides is probably one of the best MV4 players that we have in the entire game right now. But you also look at a guy like Hockey. I mean, you can just see those numbers are absolutely consistent.
Yes, and this is our G Fuel key player matchup. You want to keep an eye out for these two players. I'm sure if you've been watching the first two matches of the series, you are well aware of what they're capable of. So that's why they have been highlighted this way. We're going to get into map number 3, and that's going to be an uplink. And I want to get some of your thoughts on what you think here. So we've seen the series is now 1-1, right? Mm-hmm. The hard point was a brutal stomping coming from eUnited throughout most of the game before we saw Dave and company really wake up and search and destroy heavily on the side of Epsilon because of how well coordinated they were against eUnited. Now, this uplink is another game mode that requires such great coordination as you have essentially a man down, someone that's going to have a drone in their hands instead of a gun. Who do you think this favors in this situation, Landon?
Now, I think this is a good point to bring up because me and you actually casted eUnited on Frost a little bit earlier today. Granted, it wasn't the best of opponents in some cases. Epsilon a little bit more talented in most regards, to say the least. But, I mean, honestly, it's kind of hard to call. And I'm going to be honest, I'll obviously give my prediction, but I'm going to kind of bring this up a little bit. Epsilon, to me, definitely has the upper hand when it comes down to overall chemistry, as well as probably communication as well. We've gone on board with eUnited, even with the old gunless roster, and it's kind of been like a little bit of an awkward communication. Like, I know we've obviously done, I think you have as well, done interviews with Persini, and he has no issues just kind of calling out his brother, calling out Silly, like, yeah, we should probably drop this guy. As a joke, of course, but still, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm personally favoring Epsilon. I mean, as far as the previous ERAD usage, I definitely kind of favored them. As far as the different weapon selection at closer quarters, I definitely favor them. And I think, honestly, when it comes down to this map specifically, this was always a map where I thought Gunless had a number of different great performances. And Swirly, while he is going to be the main objective guy, I'm just not sure if he can keep up the same way he did in that hard point.
All right, good breakdown there. We have two teams, two strong teams in the Call of Duty World League, tied up 1-1 in this series. If you're just tuning in, Epsilon is off the back of a very one-sided affair in Search and Destroy. Let's see if they can follow it up in this uplink, as most of the kills in the beginning, all of them go in favor of eUnited.
Indeed they do. Arcides making his way right now through Dark. Potential one-point toss in his mitts, and that's exactly what's going to happen within the first 15 seconds. A one-point toss is already on the board, and Silly continuing to be a nuisance right now inside of Robots. And I'm not sure if actually Epsilon knows of his current positioning, because if not, he could definitely be a major nuisance to make sure another scoring opportunity is on its way. Finding one from behind, as that's going to be 3 down. Dave, the last alive, currently over toward that ice side, is going to have to back up as he drops, and just like that, Silly with the drone yet again in his hands. Epsilon struggling early.
Dave really bought his team some time right there, because Silly's flank, if Dave didn't find those 2 kills, was definitely going to result in at least a 1-point play. So again, a huge player for Epsilon there is Dave, as you need to keep an eye on. And on the side of eUnited, we do have Arcides, who's second in place with the most kills, our key player, but Silly still not yet, or has yet to die. He was 6-0 up until that very moment, and it's Josh to put him down.
Indeed it is. Nice defensive play. They're coming in from Epsilon. Despite the very early rush that we ended up seeing from eUnited, they responded pretty well, and Dave, of course, being one of the major players to be looking out for, as well as Hockey when it came down to a number of different performances. We talked about his KD when it came down to that mode as well. Definitely should be someone to watch out for when on the side of Epsilon. Vortex actually finding a few in the kill feed, currently on a 4 spree. Got to show him some love, as he's going to be on a 4 multi-kill, as it seems, looking to try and make somewhat of an impact, being that lead blocker right now for Epsilon. But it looks like it's not going to make the progress much further. Beast Boy Josh is in the back, and granted, that drone is long gone by now. eUnited making a defensive play now on their end.
Even though the other players of Epsilon are, I feel like, much more consistent, have much more of a presence than Vortex, he has so many crazy moments where he just applies such a crucial amount of pressure to the enemy team. And you're seeing it right there with that beautiful multi-kill. Now, a drone attempt is coming in from the side of eUnited. They have control of it, but they don't really have too much map presence, so they can't make a play with it. So let's see how Epsilon takes advantage of that.
DB will. 3 do go down. Unfortunately, the drone does reset, but it looks like Vortex is ready and waiting to be there with that one, making that push through blue. Having Josh to kind of watch over him, but he's quickly going to fall, and eUnited, time after time, when it comes down to these close quarter engagements, are shutting down these 3- and 4-man pushes, but this one might not be the same case. Dave now with the drone in his hands, tries to slide over. Nice slide and score. That one's going to follow through, as that's now going to be Epsilon who responds. Dave showing that he can also do some objective work along with that slaying ability we know him for.
Quick thinking from Dave, just dive right around the corner and throw it in before the armor effect of the drone wears off. We're seeing RCDs put the drone down in favor of his ERAD, and he finds a kill from it. He has the support of Prestini and Silly. Prestini's double kill opens this window wide open. He's actually going to be the one to move the drone up, but he's going to be doing it in the face of Epsilon players because they didn't block spawns. This is going to be such a tough fight to win, and that's why you're going to see Epsilon kill them all and then complete the turnover.
A nice play there from Epsilon, definitely trying to overwhelm that drone. Prestini had no option, no really way to try to fire that drone through the portal. Which is a nice defensive stand there from the guys of Epsi. Dave doing a little bit of tricks on the wall run, finding a nice combination of kills, finds 2-player over toward midship. Do not tell me he's going to find that kill. Prestini ends up dropping. This should be at least a 1-play play from Vortex, but no, Swarley, while fading back, is actually able to get the block in that case. Beautiful play there from Swarley to delay that push. Both teams having great defensive stops in this first half, Fox.
Swatted out of the sky from Swarley. Now he's moving it up the ice path through blue. He has access to the ERAD. Doesn't have a whole lot of team support. They seem to be dropping like flies around him. Epsilon responding and biting back so quickly, clearing them all out. This is a very clear opportunity, and it would be a wasted one if they don't score from it. I know eUnited spawning up in the base, but you would think that with the presence that they had, they could read that, respond quickly. Josh does just that, but the 1-point play can't come in. There's the dunk anyway. Vortex follows it up.
A great overall combination of the Epsilon players to kind of jam that toss through. Vortex is there for the rebound, and of course the dunk quickly after, as they're now going to be up by just over a possession, or excuse me, just at a possession. RC's now trying to make a potential last-second score. Playing pretty well for his squad as they're going to be rushing this drone right now through ship. Guys in Epsilon starting to stack up, trying to make this push no longer be a viable one. Swally goes for the 1-point toss and is actually able to nail that one through. They'll also find 3 kills in the end, but Dave is there to at least shut down Swarley after that exchange. So with 15 seconds left, Epsilon still leads by 1 point.
All right, good cleanup there by Epsilon after the point comes in. They do have enough time to make a score here, but I don't think eUnited's going to make it very easily with their presence on the middle of the map. Vortex finds a double to open things up with his Scarab. But yeah, the clock's ticking. That fight took way too long and was not clean enough because of that score streak coming from Vortex. So we're going in the second half with a score of 3-2.
I was pretty impressed, Fox, by that defensive plays that we ended up seeing. A number of different, kind of like 3 or 4 downs at times when the drone was pretty up and pretty close up and personal. And both teams' bases at eUnited doing it toward the beginning, Epsilon doing it toward the end. And of course, nice block coming in there from Swarley. Both teams, I think, doing a great job when it comes down to defense. And you know what they say, a good defense is a better offense. And that's exactly what I think we're going to see when it comes to the second half.
So take a look at our scoreboard and see what our G Fuel key players are up to. Currently, Hockey 10-14. We mentioned how much of an important player he is to this roster and their success and a lot of their game modes, but he actually has the worst KD out of everyone right now. On the other side, we have eUnited's Arcides, just barely going positive at the moment, but he's still keeping up with the rest of his team in what is a very close game. So it's still anyone's game at this point, and as soon as someone heats up, I definitely think that's what's going to be enough to push any team over the edge.
Swarley picking up that drone, but only just for the time. As eUnited trying to make a 2-man push forward, proceeding with an opportunity to go for the 1-point toss. Dave is here trying to wait for him to actually fly down, and Dave is going to make him pay for that one. He'll be able to find the kill thanks to Vortex's nice assistance there. That stoppage is going to come in. The defensive play potentially now turning into an offensive one. Vortex lighting things up. The ERADs from the European guys starting to make an impact yet again. The Vortex is going to stretch up for the nice 2-point play. That's now going to be the side of Epsilon with a 5-2 advantage with just under 4 minutes remaining in the second half.
I don't want to stop watching Vortex till he dies. The man is positive 10, 3 kills in a row, has so much pressure to offer his team, and he's gunning down Silly at mid-range with an ERAD. The drone, though, is being carried away from him, so now his value has decreased. Let's see what the rest of his teammates can do around blue. Player 1, that's Dave, is actually taken down by Prestini, and there's not a whole lot of action going on from the side of Epsilon as Arcides is able to wipe them out. And this looks like we have a 1-point play opportunity. Josh is not able to get the interception because Silly takes him out.
What a beautiful play there from Arcides. Actually gets the nice beat down along with the 1-point toss. Josh not able to get that defensive play in. And you can obviously see there at the top, Vortex ending out on a 7 spree, currently sitting at 27 and 14. Definitely being that slayer to be watching out for on the side of Epsilon, and definitely granting his team the one possession advantage that they currently do have in their control. Dave, nice wall run, has to try to throw that drone off, but just for the time, that one's going to be left inside the middle as we continue to battle this one out.
Uh-oh, eUnited's in a good spot right now, 4 versus 2. The drone has moved up pretty far towards the Epsilon base, but they do have to face the fact that Epsilon's going to be spawning right in front of them on the portal because they didn't influence the spawns. So Epsilon, knowing the 2 doorways that eUnited could be coming from, are going to pounce on that opportunity and take the drone right back. Coming into the final 3 minutes of our uplink here, Landon, we're taking a look at our payload progression, and some players are glowing gold, some are about to be glowing gold.
Arstys does have the active camo proceeding with the FTL jump. Basically, all players from eUnited very close to theirs. Guys in Epsilon are as well. As soon as we see what happens with this the scoring opportunity, I'm going to switch on board the eUnited guys, but just like that, the scoring opportunity comes in. Swirly is there for the rebound as well as the dunk, as we're now going to be level at 5 apiece. Vortex actually does have a bombardment potentially to try and use. Hockey does have that overdrive. Josh getting close to this, ensuring an active camo nearly earned from Dave. So definitely, Fox, toward the end of this stretch, we're going to be seeing a lot of payloads be used. But Vortex getting very close. He doesn't even need to use the payload in this case. He's able to fire that one through. Vortex doing things on both ends, not just on the sling, but as well on the objective.
Great play out of them right there to make this still a 1-possession game at the moment. 2 minutes remain. Score streaks are coming in. The bombardment causing so much damage and disruption towards middle map, and it amounts to a kill on Arcides. So really, Epsilon should not. I don't think they're going to be able to make too much of that play, only because eUnited's so close off of their spawn. And Josh here, he doesn't have an escort, but he's facing an ERAD just around the corner. So that should be the end of that play.
Indeed, it will be just over a minute remaining in this second half of Frost uplink. Archie is going to go on a little bit of a wall run. He does have player number 8, Persini, his brother, watching over his back. And here comes the active camo play. Tries to get at least around the corner. Wants the 2-point play. Player's just right in front of him. And Dave is just narrowly going to shut him down. Josh gets the rebound. So in some cases, the active camo kind of gets wasted in that case, and if you're eUnited, you can't afford to have that be lost.
Landon, that is a massive shutdown. We saw the Twins bringing it in. The camo was popped, and they weren't able to get a score from it. Now it's Epsilon's turn. The camo comes in, the dunk is completed, they're leading by 4 points. eUnited has 40 seconds to make something happen, and they're already short on a few payloads.
The armor indeed, and Silly is just nearly close to that reactive armor. It's just not looking good at the moment. If you are an eUnited fan, they've got to get the drone in Swirly's hands, but he's currently going to be at our respawn screen for the moment. Arsty's coming from the back, trying to make something happen toward the end. Finds one, actually has some help there for the second as well, but not a whole lot of time. 2 possessions down. They only have 15 seconds left, and Vortex is trying to shut down this push from happening. The FTL jump, the overdrive gets rocked, and it looks like the Epsilon boys are going to walk away with this game in number 3.
With just 10 seconds remaining, there's no way eUnited can put 4 points on the board. And in what was a well-fought battle on both sides, with I feel like some highlight-worthy plays coming from both teams, we're still going to see Epsilon walk away with this victory.
Indeed they will, and you see there Vortex finishing off 36 and 24. Absolutely went off with that ERAD throughout most of the game and was constantly being a nuisance there for eUnited. But we saw some really good defensive plays there toward the end. A pretty close game in some cases, but the active camo play just couldn't work out for the eUnited guys. In some cases, you'd like to see RCDs maybe try to save that for a better play. I mean, granted, it was a good opportunity, but it was kind of a 2 versus 3 permanent play that just didn't work out for them.
And we saw throughout that map, the contributions from Vortex were very easily what put Epsilon over the edge. I did mention they just needed someone to come online and just take a sweeping performance to close out that map. And guess what? Vortex was that guy. While Hockey was sleeping, Vortex was eating. And now we see 2 maps taken from Epsilon, or by Epsilon here against eUnited. So next up, we're going to see Retaliation hardpoint. And this is a best-of-5 series, ladies and gentlemen. So if Epsilon takes it, that's a 3-1 series win against eUnited.
And you know the Epsilon guys are definitely kind of wearing that European flag with some pride. Of course, this besides Splice, I mean, this is the only European team that we have currently in that winners bracket. Of course, saw some unfortunate plays from a lot of the European teams as well. Millennium not really having the tournament that they would like, as long as some other European teams as well. But still, they're trying to fight for the Team EU fans at home and definitely trying to make the Epsilon fans proud. As like we said, only one more map for them to close it out. But of course, we do now focus our attention when it comes down to Retaliation hardpoint. I want you to talk about us in some cases, what to expect when it comes down to this map, how it kind of plays, and what players that we need to be looking out for heading into this long-range map in some cases.
Retaliation hardpoint, I think we got to keep an eye on Arcades. That was our G Fuel key player. He wasn't so impactful when it comes to that uplink until the later stages of the second half, but I do feel like once we get into hardpoint, he's going to be just fine. So what we could actually do is take a look at what these players were just able to do in the previous map. We can look at the box score and see exactly what went down. As you can see, Epsilon scoring more than eUnited on both halves. Vortex, I mentioned, that was my player to watch towards the second half where he came online. 36 kills. That ERAD pressure is so valuable to a team on Frost.
And that's what I was talking about, man, kind of coming into this match. Like I said, the European guys have kind of made the ERAD their weapon of choice and have kind of made the NA side kind of pick up that gun and realize how valuable it can be. And when it comes down to Frost, it's not at all abnormal at any point anymore to see at least 7 or 8 ERADs on the map at one time. And Vortex has definitely become a master when it comes down to that weapon.
So guys, this is a double elimination tournament. So if we see Epsilon take out eUnited, that's going to push them down to the losers bracket where they can only lose one more series before being eliminated from the tournament. You want to see these players on Epsilon close it out if you're an EU fan, but if you're an eUnited fan, you want to see them bounce back and see if they can bring it to a Game 5.
And believe it or not, eUnited isn't actually a European team.
That is a North American roster.
Just going to kind of bring that up just in case you're a new fan watching at home. But of course, like we said, this is on the brink of a potential losers bracket, matchup that can kind of go down there. So eUnited definitely not wanting to be pushed down there by any means. So of course, if we get reload into Retaliation hardpoint, I want to get your prediction, right? I know it's kind of come down to this.
It's so tough.
Do you think Epsilon closes that? Well, of course, we can kind of talk about it a little bit more as the map gets ready to load in. But in your opinion, when it comes down to this matchup, do you think eUnited forces the Game 5, or does Epsilon close it out here?
This is so tough to call because I feel like both of these teams are perfectly capable of taking down one another on hardpoint given the day. But Epsilon is coming off of 2 map wins in a row. Vortex is hot. Dave has been hot. Hawkey could definitely contribute quite a bit here in this map. He was our key matchup player, our key player for this series. So I'm more in the corner of Epsilon here. We got the full EU roster here. They look like they're firing in all cylinders after that failure of a hard point. So I think they're going to bounce back and close the series out here.
I can definitely respect it. Well, they're doing a great job here at the start of on bridge. Swarley finding some nice shots here off the start as eUnited are quick to respond and trying to get some control over bridge. And what I've noticed, actually, a lot of the hard points that we've witnessed, a lot of the money hills that we're going to be looking at on this map are going to be broken building as well as that rotation over toward graveyard as well. And it seems that in a lot of the matchups that I've seen from teams like eUnited and even like FaZe, kind of Optic Gaming as well, they've done a great job at not always just kind of getting those major points on those money hills, but doing a great job at kind of getting a lot of time on those entry hills, those ones that are pretty hectic. Once they get a lot of time on those, a lot of time you actually see them get the victory.
That they do, and we're seeing some long-range engagements going down. Lots of NV4 kills in the kill feed as you're seeing up until Swarley gets a little aggressive with the K-bar. Take a look at what some of these open engagements are looking like. Arcades, 5-1. That was our G Fuel key player here, and he's starting off pretty hot for his team. But it doesn't exactly reflect that in the scoreboard. It's a very evenly matched game at 25-25 with Epsilon taking the initial time on the new hill. Oh, Dave!
Dave is starting to light it up. Unfortunately, lights up his own teammate. That's rather unfortunate, but either way, he'll probably take the kills. That's a pretty worthy exchange in some cases, as long as they've got hill control for the moment. 42-25, and Dave is starting to light it up just a little bit more, but Josh is able to at least help out his squad, his teammate for the moment. Nice kill there for Josh. He's currently going to be on that 3 spree, guaranteeing that lower street hardpoint a little bit more in the favor of the eUnited side. Now, if you are eUnited, you're probably going to try and maybe back this one up a little bit, trying to maybe delay that process of the side of Epsilon from advancing forward. But Josh does a great kill at shutting down shutting down Swarley. That's 2 down. That's 3 down now. Arcades has got to make sure he's holding on to these spawns in some cases because now Epsilon are getting the scrap points and they're also now advancing forward.
That's a pretty big swing of momentum for Epsilon here. Not only did they get a lot of hill time on lower street, they have the first setup for Cathedral, one of the better money hills on this map. And eUnited has a 3-1 push coming in from bridge and lower street. Let's see how they work it.
Will
not very well.
Not exactly the best in some cases, but player number 7 along with Prestini as well. So Silly and Prestini trying to make their way forward, waiting for their teammates actually to provide some support, but Silly drops. Prestini coming from behind. He'll reveal his position. Current 1 versus 2 gunfight. Thankfully, he'll have his teammates to try and support him in some cases. Vortex is here yet again. The hot player from the uplink will also drop, and just like that, it looks like it's going to come down to a 2 versus 1 gunfight. It should be eUnited's win, but no. Dave is actually able to stay alive, and he answers the call yet again. Dave continuing to go off on a 4 spree, 9 and 5, now make it 10 and 5.
Oh no!
Dave is absolutely exploding to give his team even more momentum as Cathedral will end, and that's going to be the side of Epsilon, who at least get a number of different seconds on Cathedral.
Dave, please, sir, just leave him alone. Let him be. He's not doing it. Fully streaked out. That's a good situation for Epsilon to be in when they're already up by about 80 seconds, if that's my math. If my math is right in this situation. Now we rotate over to Broken. Again, Epsilon finds himself with the early setup on a money hill. Let's see how eUnited can answer back.
Dave, be still, my beating heart. My word, he is absolutely exploding every time we see him. He is just going on 2 and 3 sprees, constantly being in the face of the eUnited players. They have not had a response as of yet. Over a 100-second advantage right now for the side of Epsilon. They've controlled quite a bit of time in the last 3 hardpoints and have also nailed down every single rotation. The guys on eUnited have completely been caught off guard, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to rebound from this.
This is a stomping. EU fans at home, you got to be so happy to see what's going on with Epsilon right now. Dave, currently double positive, being a huge threat and a huge force for the side of Epsilon. Vortex is sitting pretty inside of the hill on a 3-kill streak. He's working his way up those score streaks, and Hawkeye finds a double kill out in nowhere land, and it's just looking slower and slower for eUnited the longer this game goes on. They really need to be able to put something up here. With Pristini going triple negative, that's not going to do it. That's actually going to work against you quite a bit here in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. Pristini, I know we've talked about him in the past ever since, of course, the recent news of Gunless leaving the roster. He's definitely had to step it up quite a bit along with his brother, Arcides, and right now currently sitting at 5 and 13. That's not at all what you want from him. He's talked about how we can't wait to get back to his Black Ops 3 form, and in some cases it's just so hard to kind of do that at the moment. But you got to highlight Dave. This man is absolutely going off right now. It's hilarious at this point because the kills that he is doing makes this game look easy. Dave is 19 and 8 on a 4 spree, and he is single-handedly stopping eUnited from advancing into the hard point. Dave has been the MVP of this entire tournament. It's fair to say 20 and 9, double positive, as now it's going to be Epsilon closer to that 200-point mark, and eUnited have just crossed the 40-point mark.
Epsilon's not even doing anything like crazy strategically here. They're just outgunning eUnited at every opportunity, and a lot of it's coming from Dave. They're just not killing Epsilon out of power positions, and Epsilon's just going to take that advantage every single time and win these gunfights. Look at that. Arcides can't take down Dave. He still has these streaks that he hasn't had to use because he's just as dangerous as they are right now.
Oh my
Another
God,
gunfight
Dave.
win. It's nothing. Dave brushes it off, and it looks like the clock is ticking and working against eUnited here as they are about 40 seconds away from the Epsilon clock from being knocked to that loser's bracket.
I hate to call things early, and by no means am I, but Dave is absolutely making a case why Epsilon deserves to be at this tournament, to walk away with this series. Just as I say that, eUnited start to finally rush onto the hill, getting some much-needed time on bridge, time that they can no longer give away. Player number 8, Pristini, already making that rotation here, finally shuts down Dave. Thank the Lord that he is off the map for right now, because eUnited at least can stay alive for a few more seconds as the rotation will come in. Pristini single-handedly currently holding this one down for his squad, but most likely for not much longer as the boys from Epsilon look to rush here yet again.
Yeah, Hawkeye only needs one engagement to take the hard point away from eUnited here. There's no trade coming in. The rest of eUnited will be coming in from market side. They do have sort of the high ground here, a little bit of cover to work with. I'm trying to think of something that they could do here, but with Dave shooting like that, like what kind of advantage is that going to amount to here?
I'm just going to sit on the controller toward the end of this map and just let Dave do what he does, because he is absolutely destroying right now. 26 and 11, only 10 more seconds needed. They're going to completely embarrass the side of eUnited, not even allowing them to get toward that 70-point mark. And Dave is continuing to show off why he is one of the best players in the game. And just like that, in commanding fashion, Epsilon will take map number 4 and close out this series 250 to just 64 points.
Disgusting. And the worst part about that is it's not the first time it's happened. Of course, this time we're seeing eUnited with a sub, but Epsilon's just showing their strength time and time again, and they're closing out this series 3-1. Such a strong performance out of Dave.
Oh, man.
If you want to know how to shoot an MV4, that's the player to watch. And I mean, this VOD, if you go back and watch it, most of the gameplay has to be from his POV, so you can learn a little something from him.
I'd find Dave on Twitter and ask him for some MV4 lessons, because, I mean, what he was doing was just absolutely incredible. But let's go and take a quick look at our, obviously, series recap, exactly what happened in this series, Fox. It looks like map number 1, of course, ended up going eUnited's way, won that one 250 to 157. And ever since that search and destroy, that first search and destroy round when Epsilon have completely battered the side of eUnited as they took that search and destroy 6 rounds to 1. Of course, winning that last uplink over on Frost 9-5, and what we just witnessed in this last hardpoint, 250 to 64. Absolute destruction coming in from the guys of FC.
So, what a roller coaster of a series we just had, guys, right? That hardpoint, it might look a little bit closer than what we saw in this Retaliation hardpoint,
it was
but
not at all.
Throwback hardpoint was a complete, one-sided affair, and eUnited just got kind of sloppy towards the end and gave them some free time, right? They got a lot of Barnhill time, whatever. But it was very one-sided from the get-go. We get into the search and destroy. Epsilon stomps eUnited with very little of a response throughout that game. Then the uplink, super close until the closing moments, and we saw Vortex throughout that entire map destroying eUnited, but still resulted in a competitive match.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now we get into the hardpoint, and Epsilon just crushes them. Just ends the series by blowing them out.
Yeah, and just some stats. I mean, 27 and 11 for Dave. Vortex goes 16 and 8, along with 2 minutes and 10 seconds inside of the hill. I mean, Epsilon just completely. I mean, what we thought was going to be a potential map 5, like eUnited, maybe they can do it. Of course, like coming into that, we're like, this is such a hard map to call. And Epsilon's like, nope, not at all. Dave's like, nah, I'm closing this one out. That first hard point was pretty much a fluke, and he made it seem like it, man. That was just such an impressive map for Epsilon. And I think at Anaheim, we've definitely seen some outliers, some guys who've definitely kind of risen to the occasion. And Dave is making his case for being not just one of the best players in Europe, but one of the best players in the world right now.
That's a bold statement to make about Dave. He's definitely been getting there over the past month or so. His performance,
he's making his case. I'm not saying he is, but he's definitely making a case to kind of maybe even add him into that conversation at
He's
times.
building that story just a little bit here. Dave is definitely contributing quite a bit to Epsilon.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I believe we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, I believe our final match from day number 2 at CWL Anaheim. We'll be right back.